Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. the well that was built like 2020 that we don't have online yet.
Good evening. Welcome to the Paso Robles City Council, Tuesday, February 18th meeting. And we're going to start by calling the meeting to order and saying pledge allegiance to the flag. And if you'll follow Mr. Strong, we'll do that first.
And with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Almighty God, everlasting Father, we come to you this evening to thank you for creating and sustaining all things, for reigning and ruling over all creation in righteousness, goodness, and truth, for making us in your image, creating us to live in communities that reflect your love, your faithfulness, your goodness, and your truth. We ask now that you grant to our city leaders, our council members and staff, the great wisdom, humility, discernment, to render decisions that align with your design for human flourishing and for the good stewardship of all the resources you have entrusted to us. May your favor rest on them and on us and on this great city. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dan of the Covenant Church in Paso Robles. Roll call, please. Yeah.
Councilmember Bausch.
Here.
Councilmember Beal. Here. Councilmember Strong.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregory.
Here.
And Mayor Hammond is absent this evening.
So noted. Thank you. At this time, can we have staff introductions, please?
Melissa Boyer, City Clerk, joined by Ryan Cornell, Administrative Services Director, Mary Sponholtz, Deputy City Clerk, and Karen Jackson, IT Technician.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Christopher Lucko, Utilities Director.
Judith Esperanza, Capital Projects Engineer.
Paul Sloan, Economic Development Manager.
Chris Huot, Acting City Manager.
Elizabeth Hall, City Attorney.
Thank you. And we do have our first presentation tonight, but I don't know if they know about our time change. Stacy Jacobs, I don't see her in the audience, so she's coming. So we'll just kind of go on to general public comments, please.
Okay, this is the time that the public may address the council on items within the council's purview but not scheduled on the agenda. All persons desiring to speak on an agenda item are asked to fill out a speaker information card and give them to me, the city clerk, prior to speaking. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 3 minutes per item. Those persons wishing to speak on any item scheduled on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so at the time that item is being considered.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, at this time we'll open a general public comments. Please identify yourself.
Hi.
Thank you. Hello?
Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I really wanted to, I know this is a time for a new turn in Paso Robles, and I am holding back some of the still disgruntled over the previous city manager situation. I think it's time to put it all to bed, including whether the business Dubs is operating legally or illegally. That still needs to be resolved. I sent a heads-up email to Mr. Hewitt and Chief Nord, but he's on vacation, that in 2024, the FTB suspended their license. So I think that's the only house cleaning issue left from that situation. To move on, GSM Oil is ramping up. I want to say thank you to the city, to the staff, primarily the staff, for entertaining all the complaints that I had at 3126 Spring Street. We are officially up to code. People are safe. We're a safe distance from each other. Fire lanes were the last thing to be addressed because Gavin Newsom, who vetoed our fire safety bill last year, is reconsidering anything with the word fire in it. So if this city has anything, a bill or any monies that you want with the word fire in it, right now is the time to ask. Statewide, there's a lot of new assembly people in the Capitol, people I don't even know, they're first timers, and it's great. And so we are trying very hard statewide to make sure that insurance rates don't get us. There's a new 5-foot rule. I don't know if the fire department knows that yet. Gavin Newsom did a 5-foot rule between homes that have a lot of brush, things like that. The other thing I wanted to offer my assistance in is the food pop-ups. I heard the Planning Commission speak about that the other day, and I got a lot of good information from Oakland, how they handle it. Great application. It will fulfill everything in one bang. When I was running for District 1, I still contend that I would love to see all the food pop-ups over by One of a Kind. There's a lot of back land over there, little park areas where they could set up daily. And then you have them in one spot, and it's a benefit to the kids as they're walking home to school. So today I don't have that much. I came specifically for Echo and for these other little things, the pet nanny, the pet sitter is another housekeeping issue from last year that I look forward to working on. But I want to say overall, Ms. Bill, I'm keeping a track of your voting record. So far, you voted for a payout, and you voted for cronyism when you put Sharon Roden on the Planning Commission. Mental note. Have a good day.
Thank you. Good evening.
I live in Ground Squirrel Hollow. You guys got to pay attention when you give these guys 3 minutes to talk. You guys are sitting on your phones and the computers. They give 3 minutes. Listen up. I'd like to start with some common ground if I can. If someone makes a mistake and error is made, that person should be held liable, right? We don't need a judge or a contract out some consultant to agree to that. The reimbursement for the paid parking was not the fault of the citizens. They shouldn't be tagged with that fee. We should pursue the party in error.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Ron Walters from Paso Robles. I just had a few questions and comments I'd like to make tonight. It mostly regards the riverbed, the homeless, the fuel level, the fuel load that's in the riverbed, and the potential dangers that that's creating for the community. We can just look back the other week in Southern California with all the fires, and 2 weeks, or last week, we just did a recovery of 9 people in the riverbed. Come this summer, the potential to have a fire. If we had 5 different homeless people set 5 fires at the same time, we could have a serious situation just like they had down south. So I just want to bring that as a cautionary note. So my question is, are the police who I know they're in the middle of all of this garbage, but are the police going down there on a regular basis? Because last year you did a very good thing by passing the ordinance that you could not camp in the riverbed. So I'm just asking, can we patrol that on a monthly basis? We knew the rains were coming. If we got those people out of there, like the ordinance said that we're supposed to do, we wouldn't have spent the time or the potential danger to the guys that are having and the gals that are having to rescue these people. So that's my main issue with that. And hopefully we can get some of that brush taken out of there. But I do know you're restricted by the state as to what you can and can't do. My final thing is the drunks on the street. What is the new rule for since they have changed the vagrancy laws back to what was more realistic? We have drunks in the middle of the day laying on Spring Street. I call in and the police do, and they move them along. The next day, the same guy's still there. So my question to the police department is, can we not take them down to the county jail and put them in there? Just having them drunk on the street. I mean, I'm having the Warren ladies a lot of times. I'll escort you around this guy between 7th and 9th Street, and he's laying there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, and then the next day they're still back there. So if we could look at some of those issues, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Would anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, council members and staff. My name is Lloyd, and I live in Paso Robles, California.
My name is Bill Martinez, and I live in Paso Robles, California.
We're doing a benefit for the children of CASA, court-appointed special advocates in May. We, the Pioneers Motorcycle Club, alongside the Messengers of Recovery Motorcycle Club and Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, the Pioneers and the Messengers are a clean and sober motorcycle club filled with men in recovery. We are planning this event May 10th, 2025, and would like Paso Robles to be a part of it. Please see the attached documents that I've brought along detailing more information about this event. I was abused child, neglected, and I had no one there for me. Therefore, I'm passionate about this for helping the kids. And my life, I've totally changed my life around, and I'm a part of the community now instead of against. And I'm new to this, so please bear with me. But you know what? I just have to come up here and speak my voice, because my voice can be heard. And do you have anything you'd like to say, Bill?
I also have a love for the CASA program myself. I adopted a child a few years ago. CASA was the voice of that child. And if it hadn't been for the voice of a CASA member, that child may still be in the system. It takes training, it takes money to train these members for CASA. And what we're doing here is to benefit that training and the programs therefore. So with your help and the help of Paso Robles City Council, we would appreciate all you can do for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Where's your event going to be held?
Santa Maria Harley-Davidson in Santa Maria.
So we can get tickets at that location?
Yeah, we got tickets on location now. Also gave the documents to your
Very good.
reporter.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, we have to turn off the mic now? Just kidding. Welcome, Sharon. Sorry.
Won't be the first or last time.
It's not quite April 1st.
Since October 2024, there have been multiple requests for records under the Public Records Act to the City of Paso Robles. These requests pertain to individuals serving as council members and some staff of City of Paso Robles. To my knowledge, only one person has refused to comply with state law by supplying those records or signing an affidavit that no records exist. Councilman Bausch, this is the second time your actions, or rather inactions in this case, have resulted in financial jeopardy to our city. Unlike the claim by Ty Lewis, this is not a he said, she said, he said, she said, he said situation. This is zeros and ones, yes or no, right or wrong. You have refused to comply with state law. Reportedly, you claim that doing so at this point may conflict with a non-disparaging agreement in the Ty Lewis settlement. Two questions then come to mind with that assertion. One, the claims made by Mr. Lewis may indeed have been valid. And two, the settlement occurred at the end of January. So why have you not produced these documents in October, November, December, or January prior to the settlement? You have missed deadline after deadline after deadline. The people have a right to the full story, and the city has a right to public records. Before taking a seat on this council, you took an oath to leave the city greater and better than it was when entrusted to you. As a fiscal conservative, You have voted against a nationally recognized budget for this city. We are now faced with additional expenses impacting this budget, which are directly attributable to one individual, you, Mr. Bausch. So that we can all more clearly understand the impacts of this issue, I have 4 questions addressed to Mr. Bausch and or council. How many individual public records requests has the city received since October 1st, 2024 until February 1st, 2025? How many of those requests have been fulfilled, or if it's a quicker number to calculate, how many requests have not been fulfilled? Mr. Bausch, how many of the requested documents have you released to the city of Paso Robles since October 1st, 2024 to date? How much has the city of Paso Robles spent in regards to all actions involving Councilman Bausch, inclusive of all legal settlements, settlement fees and costs, attorney's fees, and staff time? The time for excuses has lapsed. Your absolute refusal to follow the law, I think, is the most disheartening aspect of this issue. I'm reminded of a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. No man is above the law, no man is below it, nor do we ask any man's permission when we ask him to obey it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you state your name for those listening, Ms. Roden? Could you state your name for those listening?
Sorry about that. Sharon Roden, Paso Robles.
And I'd like to know if she's speaking as a planning commission appointment or a citizen.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? I'm going to go a little out of order here, but Randy, could I get you to come up and just tell the public what we're doing on the river for fire prevention, please?
Hi, Randy Harris, Deputy Fire Chief. We do numerous things in the riverbed, mostly with our Department of Fish and Wildlife permit. We get into the riverbed to our clearance areas, which runs along North and South River Road, and then also on the west side of the embankments. We create some fuel breaks there. Generally, those are maintained with the goats annually. That accounts for about 90 acres a year. And then on top of that, depending on what funds are available through the Fire Safe Council, we have hand crews come in that do chipping. So for instance, after the big storm where we had a lot of debris, we were able to get in with those crews, break up those piles of debris to kind of lower our ember cast. So it's an ongoing thing. We have a battalion chief assigned to it. And then I did reach out to Mr. Walters and give him my card. It's a dynamic conversation that will definitely cover tomorrow.
Because we get quite a few grants that you guys have applied for that purpose, correct?
Absolutely. The Fire Safe Council kind of doles those grants out and then also reaches out because I'll just say our projects are ready to go. So whenever they have extra capacity, they actually bring those crews in and do extra special projects for us. A lot of the drainages on the west side along Highway 46, those were all things that were kind of extra work that was done for us last year.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I'm going to take a moment and make a personal general comment as a citizen. I just hope everybody read the Paso Robles Daily News today because they did a really nice article on one of our long-term employees, Ditas. And it's really nice to see articles share what our family or our employees have done here. And all of our employees are greatly appreciated, but when they get put it in the paper and they get it right, it's really good. So congratulations, guys. And we gave her a cake too, so anyway. One candle. So this time that'll bring the public comments to close. Chris, would you like to make any comments?
I'm sorry. We get confused on the Chris's up there. I was just going to mention that Ms. Jacobs is here, so if we wanted to move back to the presentations, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any items to be deferred?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
So, unless you want to say something, City Attorney? Okay. So, to the point that former City
council member, Ms. Roden, who I know was defeated by nearly 60% of the electorate, knows this matter is a closed session item. Ms. Roden also knows, and therefore it can't be discussed at the public dais. Ms. Roden also knows that the public requests are from Clive Pinder and the San Luis Obispo Tribune. She has no part in this. She should not be bringing this up. She's not party to those. If she wishes to make additional public records requests, she is most certainly entitled to do so. She will not be receiving an answer tonight, except to say that this is a closed session item. I have sent a response to the San Luis Obispo Tribune's attorney, and that's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you.
You want to have Stacy make a presentation? Okay, good. All right, Stacy, welcome. We forgot to tell you we start a half hour earlier today. We're at 6 o'clock from now on, so
Apologies.
welcome.
Awesome. Well, good evening, members of council. My name is Stacy Jacob. I'm the president and CEO of Travel Paso. Tonight, we're going to give our tourism update, and what a great night to be doing this in with your upcoming study later on in the agenda. Just to level set kind of the team Travel Paso, we have a really great qualified team, and I want to introduce the newest member, Tracy Dodderman, who's our deputy director, who will be co-presenting with me tonight.
Good evening, council.
Julia Myers helps us with our content. Jamie Smith really is our brand marketing consultant, and Brad Rubin is our digital marketing consultant. This collective team, in addition to other members of the Solterra Strategies team, really help guide and direct overall, of course, all within the auspice of the guidance, and we report directly to the board of directors. Tonight, we're going to give kind of a quick update of the state of the industry. We're not going to go too far into this because you have lots of data coming with that. We're going to talk a little bit about our branding campaign, Savor Real California, how we support the Paso Robles community, and our partnerships and collaboration. First and foremost, state of the industry. Look at that beautiful park, these wonderful lights that you guys have really now made a year-round approach. What a great ambiance. We get so many compliments about our downtown park, and what a great place this is to be able to walk through. So thank you for that commitment and giving back to the community on that particular front. We like to talk, of course, about numbers, and we're going to dive into this and the value of tourism here later, but just kind of an overarching message. You know, post-pandemic revenue has reset higher than where we were in 2019. The chart on the right-hand side really shows that kind of overall revenue. You see this through the increase in TOT. You're seeing this through the numbers that you get from Ryan and your team. Overall, we have started to see a slightly lower trend in occupancy compared to where we were in 2019. But overall, dollars are up. That's good news. That means people are coming to Paso Robles. They're spending a little bit more money in those heads and beds. But we do have a responsibility that we have to look at as we move forward in all of this. The good news is a lot of our existing properties, too, that we've kind of called out here, have made great improvements to their lodging properties. With the investment that KSL has made in the Paso Robles Inn, they've completed their renovation as of late. We also have new older properties like the River Lodge that are now back in circulation, thanks to the investment that Kimberly Walker has made in our community. These are two examples. You see lots of other renovations that have happened or extensions that are going on throughout our hotel and lodging community right now. And we think that's really good because it's bringing everybody up to the level, looking at what the consumer wants, which is kind of these luxury types of properties, boutique niche hotels, and experiences. Experiences is something that we see very much on all levels. I talk about that responsibility. Part of that is new hotel rooms coming into the mix. We have two properties that should come on the books sometime here in 2025. Thank you to Warren, who keeps me informed of as their pipeline and what's happening on that front. But the Ava Hotel will bring 151 rooms to the downtown corridor, and the Residence Inn another 128 rooms. So we are very much looking at this. We're continuing to build the awareness and the brand marketing and the brand awareness for Paso Robles, so that we can get ready to absorb these new rooms. One of our strategies is how do we look at midweek business? How do we bring that in? How do we really look at Paso Robles, not just for the leisure traveler coming in, but how are we feeling Sunday through Thursday night stays? All of this is truly guided by our strategic plan. So in 2023, we set out with a new strategic plan with really 3 core objectives. The first one is really collaborating and leading to advocate for the Paso Robles tourism ecosystem. You're going to hear a lot more about that as we talk about that ecosystem. You saw some of the work we did during the pandemic, and also we continue to make sure we're holding tight and keeping not only our hoteliers, but how do we make sure that restaurants are successful, wineries are successful, and you'll see a few examples as we go out through today's presentation. The second objective is really to amplify the brand through strategic marketing initiatives. We spend about $1 million of our budget through paid media strategies throughout the year. The third is really fostering constructive relationships and strengthening existing partnerships. You're going to hear about that as we move forward through that. So I outline these plans because this is really the guideposts of which we operate under. Just as you have council goals, we have our strategic plan in which we operate our plans as we move forward with. I'm going to turn over to Tracy to kind of guide us through our marketing campaigns.
Thank you, Stacy. As the destination management organization for Paso Robles, we are focused on raising awareness and encouraging visitation to the region. We accomplish this by strategically focusing our efforts through various marketing, advertising, and media campaigns, as well as collaborative efforts with our partners. Savor Real California is our current marketing campaign, and it's deployed throughout the state in a variety of formats, including billboards, videos, social media, etc. This is a 30-second video that we use to give viewers a feel for Paso Robles and entice them to visit. This video and others like it are used in our Savor Real California campaign, including YouTube, in a variety of channels, including YouTube, streaming TV, and our own social media and website to generate interest in Paso. Highlights of our Savor campaign include coverage generated around the 2024 harvest and destination awareness that was generated in the San Jose market. The harvest coverage created significant media buzz in Los Angeles, which is consistently the top traffic generating location for our Travel Paso website, and obviously an important drive market for us. San Jose is consistently the #2 traffic generating location for our website and also an important drive market. The perfect combination of paid, earned, and owned media produced excellent coverage of the 2024 harvest. The LA Times article hit a couple of days prior to the Inside SlowCal video segment, and it was followed up by travel expert Gabe Saglier's satellite media tour, which extended the reach of the harvest coverage to important direct flight cities in California and nationally. The timing of this media amplified the message that Paso Robles is a great destination to visit during harvest season. A variety of our lodging, wine, and arts partners were featured in Erica Olson's Inside SlowCal segment, which aired on a Sunday morning in October on CBS and KCAL 9. This segment encouraged viewers to plan a road trip to Paso Robles and aired in Southern California, targeting our drive market cities. We couldn't have timed this piece better had we tried. It helped to generate coverage in the LA market and was amplified by our other paid and owned media, which hit the same markets around the same time. To further bolster our harvest coverage, our owned media featured harvest content as well, and this was the top social post for the month of October. The satellite harvest media tour extended the reach of the harvest coverage to 16 locations, including all direct flight cities to San Luis Obispo, plus additional key markets in California and around the nation. Building awareness in the San Jose market is something we do using an omni-channel approach. inclusive of billboards, advertising, sports sponsorships, streaming TV, podcasts, and email campaigns. Collaborating with our partners allows us to further our reach and more efficiently utilize our resources. Sojourn and our content co-op are two examples that demonstrate how we use partnerships to stretch our finances and deliver value. Sojourn is a marketing company that's focused on serving the travel industry that targets customers across various digital media channels. We saw an opportunity here to leverage our own investment by creating options at various price points to partner with local businesses to generate increased awareness among interested consumers. Ultimately, we had 20 local partners sign up to participate with investments ranging from $1,500 to $10,000. Travel Paso matched the partner's spend, and Sojourn matched with an additional ad value, effectively tripling the original partner investment. Another way we maximize value is by offering a content co-op to generate assets that can be used by both Travel Paso and our partners. We split the cost of the content generation 50-50, and partners receive the raw video and full usage rights to the images. This allows us to produce twice as much content for our budget and deliver valuable assets to our partners for their own use. This is an example, I'm not sure if the video will play or not, I'm going to click it and see, of the raw footage that we give to our partners. There's no sound with this, obviously. So this is an example of something that could be used on social media or on a website. Partner can add their own audio. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Stacy, who's going to talk about how we support our community.
So as I mentioned, that strategic plan, when we talk about supporting the Paso Robles ecosystem of tourism, supporting our community and actually highlighting those that are really doing the work is something that we really embraced with a new hospitality awards program. In 2024, we launched this program recognizing 10 leaders whose service has truly impacted our destination. We are currently actually accepting those nominations now as we get ready for the 2025 honorees. The goal of this program is to not only honor key leaders like Noreen Martin here, who really was significant in a lot of the hotel development in the Central Coast, in particular Paso Robles, with her late husband, but also looking at who are the folks doing the work every day, who is helping to really meet the frontline workers of our guests coming into this area. And so this year we'll be really returning with our second annual tourism roundup. I encourage you to save the date. It'll be on May 8th. We'll have a beautiful luncheon. We'll actually be at the Paso Robles Inn with all of their new renovations at the ballroom space. We'll be celebrating our tourism community, and we're really honored to have our keynote speaker, Dr. Christopher Thornburg of Beacon Economics, to not only take the research that you're going to be hearing tonight, but also taking the research with the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, one of our strategic partners, and really looking at the value of tourism within the city of Paso Robles and this whole region that we like to help promote. So really looking at that full impact and answering the question for all of us of why tourism matters in Paso Robles. Other ways we support our community is through community event marketing grants. This year we have 18 events that we have supported through our guidelines and that were vetted heavily with our committee and subcommittee. We have given $97,000 that are going back into the community to help events that are happening at places like the Paso Robles Horse Park, the Paso Robles Distillery Trail, events like the Bovine Classic, events like the Roan Rangers coming, all these things that are coming in to helping fulfill heads and beds for our destination. New this year, we are actually supporting scholarships for high school seniors, particularly governed for those seniors that are graduating from the North County, hopefully Paso Robles, Shandon, Templeton areas that are looking to pursue higher education with the idea of hopefully them returning back to our community to then work in our ecosystem overall. These this grant program is actually being funded by the interest that we earn on the dollars. And I think that's a really important component because, of course, our dollars are public fund dollars that come through with our partnership with the city of Paso Robles. So this is the money we are earning on that. We actually are now gifting that back into the community through the form of scholarships. And we're working with the Community Foundation to actually put these scholarships out. The deadline has passed. This deadline was on February 13th. But I understand we have a high number of scholarships that, or I should say applicants that have come in that we now get to look at. So we look forward to then awarding those first scholarships this year. Also, thanks to your support as well, the community-focused 4th of July celebration. We're excited to be a partner with the city of Paso Robles, excited to have that back. This is another way that we can really look at that gift that tourism continues giving back to the community of Paso Robles. So thank you for your commitment. We look forward to working with you to then, I believe this is year 3 or maybe 4. Maybe I'm getting off base on my number of years, but it's great to have the fireworks back, especially this year being a Friday, being the 4th of July. So it will extend into a great weekend overall. Lastly, I just want to commemorate partnerships and collaboration, another core part of our strategic plan. We talk a lot about the tourism funnel and the ecosystem that we get to work in. We are part of a bigger piece here, which really Visit California, being our statewide organization, works very closely with Visit SlowCal, our countywide organization, which for us is really our direct funnel into Visit California. Just on Saturday night, I had a group of travel trade group here from Korea, because they now have, they're going to be more than doubling the number of flights coming from Korea into San Francisco and Los Angeles. And what their goal is to create content of connecting those two gateway markets. We happen to be right in the middle. So it was a great opportunity to demonstrate and showcase. That all comes through this tourism ecosystem that I'm talking about, from Visit California to Visit SlowCal to Paso Robles. With that, we actually then partner in various programs, and particularly one of the areas is reports and resources. I get asked all the time, tell me what the data is, tell me what the numbers are. Thanks to our work with tourism economics and with Visit SlowCal, we get that real-time data on a monthly basis to keep us moving forward, make sure that we are in check with what's happening on that front. Our partnership with the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance could never be more important in terms of keeping the heartbeat of Paso Robles alive. As the wine industry, we know, is the backbone of what makes tourism really move forward in our particular community. And we all have a responsibility of how we're going to keep talking about wine in a new and different way as we go through the trials and tribulations of the changing demographic of the wine consumer. That said, the Wine Alliance has a fantastic podcast, and Where Wine Takes You, that we are very proud to be a partner of with Travel Paso. Tracy had mentioned the San Jose market. We did a huge event actually at the PayPal Park last year, and we'll be looking to replace that with another event this June in San Jose, one of our key feeder markets. So we work with the Paso Wine Alliance, we work with the Chamber of Commerce. We actually just had meetings today because we're always in that conversation of how do we continue to keep evolving what's happening here. A few other collaborations, we work with our other tourism partners around the area. Highway 1, we actually partnered with the Highway 1 group on a media fam this fall. We said, okay, here we go. Let's talk about fall as a premium time for us in wine country, and how do we connect our coastal components and how close we are and accessible we are to the coast here. So that gave us an opportunity to do that with Highway 1. And then we did that again with Morro Bay on a media fam trip that they had last November. Results are already being seen in places like Edible, San Luis Obispo. So a great opportunity to bring our core assets of wine, food, and experience to our partners seriously just around us, because the goal is how do we connect, how do we all extend the average length of stay, and how do we all keep moving forward in terms of the awareness for Paso Robles. And with that, thank you for your time tonight.
Can I ask any questions from council? So since I have the mic, I'm going to take a moment to embarrass you, Stacy. So this very shy little farm girl from Nebraska has done an amazing job helping Paso Robles into the future, and all the work she's done with the wineries and the old Wine Alliance and what she's doing now and how she's managing our funds. We're very lucky to have you, Stacy. You're doing a great job of collaborating, and we really appreciate it. I think we should all give her a big hand because she's really helping us. She was honored at the Studios at Park fundraiser last week, so good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Back on track here. All right. Any agenda items to be deferred?
Yes, we have one agenda item on the consent calendar this evening that needs to be deferred, and that is item number 9, and that's the initiation of annexation of track 2790 into a landscape and lighting maintenance district. The short of it is there was a review of the item, and we had a procedural hiccup, and we want to recalendar that for a future meeting, so that'll be coming back before you soon. With that, there are no other items that need to be deferred.
Okay. So would you like to give us a review of the consent agenda, please?
Happy to do that. Thank you. We have 8 items now total on the consent calendar this evening. The first is approval of City Council meeting minutes from your February 4th meeting. Item number 2 is approval of meeting minutes from a City Council special meeting on February 5th. Item number 3 is the receipt of the warrant register for this last period. And the total amount of city payments made during that period was $1.5 million. There's only one item that exceeds the threshold of $100,000 or more that is considered notable, and that is a payment to U.S. Bank for the debt service related to the 2019 general obligation bond refunding or refinancing. And that is in the amount of $119,750. Moving on, item 4 is the approval of a resolution that's going to award a construction contract for the public safety training facility site improvements. This is the joint regional public safety training center that is going out by Fire Station 3. This is to get some of the site work initiated. I believe we have a groundbreaking coming up in early March, thereabouts. All right, getting head nods. Item number 5 is the approval of a resolution adopting new downtown and Railroad Street streetscape standards. These are really minor updates to the standards that are really codify kind of existing practice in 2 different areas. Item number 6 is the approval of a resolution authorizing a change order to Rick Engineering. This is for work that's being done on the North River Road Bike Path project. This item is 100% grant funded, so including that change order. Item number 7 is the approval of a resolution authorizing a contract change order for the Crest Line and Fairview Waterline upgrade and repair project. And then item number 8 is the approval of a resolution authorizing a construction contract to begin road improvement work in the Mary Hill, 15th Street, and Terrace Hill Road areas. So that is good news that we're going to be able to get some road work done. And as I mentioned, item number 9, we're recommending deferral this evening. So with that, that's an overview of the consent calendar. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions on this consent agenda in the council?
I have on J6.
Item 6?
J6, yes.
Okay. And what is, you want to bring it back, or you would just ask a question?
Ditas, congratulations again, just to embarrass you a little more. Just to confirm, the change order of the $193,000 is coming from the original grant of $300,000.
Correct.
And the purpose of this is to come up with a cost estimate to complete the bike path. We don't know what it's going to cost yet.
Correct. We wanted to vet out some of the missing pieces like structure for the bike path, because now we want to elevate it. We want to really do a good geotechnical report so we know what we're headed for. And then there were some questions about right-of-way. And so we wanted to tighten those before so we can do final design and get a really good product.
And then the final question, do we have any thoughts on where those funds to acquire any remaining land or rights of way or design cost, or build cost, where those funds will come from?
Well, we're hoping that we won't really need right-of-way acquisition. It's one of those iffy boundary surveys but we need to tighten it up just to make sure. And as far as the funding, we do have another $800,000 that's in the waiting phase from San Luis Obispo Council of Government.
Very good. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Ditas. Is that it? Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay, at this time we open up to the public for any questions on the consent agenda items. Anybody online?
No, sir.
I'll bring that back. I did have one question. Item 8 for the additional repairs for Mary Hill and Terrace Hill. That would be another $700,000 we're spending on roads in addition to ours. $6 million and what we're spending excess funds, correct?
Ditas can probably jump into, but we have this year the council, or last year I guess, the council allocated an additional $4 million, I believe, for Measure J20. That's in addition to $6.5 or $7 million that we received previously through E12. Ditas, you can remind me if this is part of our E12 regular programming or if this was an addition.
No, this is part of the regular 6-year list that we've been working on. So this is part of the original E12.
All right, thank you. Okay. Well, no further questions.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to approve items on consent calendar, items J1 through J8 as presented.
Second.
Okay, first by Bausch, a second by Strong. Any other discussion? Please call for the question.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong? Aye. Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregory?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. So we're moving on to discussion items. The first item is fiscal year 2024 second quarter report on the El Camino Homeless Organization Memorandum of Understanding and direction to staff to disperse payment pursuant to Memorandum of Understanding.
Good evening.
Angelica.
Good evening, Council. Angelica Fortin, Community Services Director. As part of the 2-year budget approved in June of 2024, City Council approved an extension to the city's Memorandum of Understanding with ECHO, providing ECHO with $444,000 in funding over the next 2 years. The extended MOU requires ECHO to provide updates to City Council that include reports on programming, services, and finances. According to the MOU, payments and reporting are to take place on a biannual basis. Tonight, Austin Solheim, ECHO's Director of Development, is here to provide ECHO's first biannual report, and the staff recommendation is that City Council receive and file ECHO's fiscal year 2024-25 mid-year report and direct staff to disperse payment in the amount of $111,000. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can invite Austin up to provide ECHO's report.
Thank you. No questions? Good to go.
Good evening, Council. Austin Solheim, Director of Development for El Camino Homeless Organization, or ECHO. I am also joined tonight by Wendy Lewis, ECHO's CEO as well. And first and foremost, I just want to thank the City Council and the community for giving us the opportunity to come and present on the work that we have done at our ECHO Paso Robles campus and in North County through the past 6 months. One of the things that I always like to highlight right at the beginning is that the funding that we receive directly from the city of Paso Robles goes directly to funding and staffing our Paso Robles campus specifically. It does make up a portion of direct costs associated with operating our Paso Robles campus. I also like to dispel some of the questions that we get about the Paso Robles campus. A lot of people are unaware that there are actually 2 operators that operate out of the Home Key project, or the formerly Motel 6. ECHO actually only makes up about 30% of the footprint there. The other remaining 70% of that project is actually run by the Housing Authority of San Luis Obispo. So we actually make up a very small portion. We have 41 total units, and out of those 41 total units, we run 70 emergency shelter beds as well as 70 emergency shelter beds, 65 of our 90-day emergency shelter beds, 5 night-by-night emergency shelter beds, and also an additional room that we utilize in direct relationship with the CAT team here in Paso Robles to activate as an emergency resource room. Some of the additional resource rooms are or the rooms that are there, we have transformed into a food pantry, into storage, into office space, and multiple things throughout that are necessary in order for us to operate out of an old Motel 6. And currently throughout North County, we operate 130 total emergency shelter beds. As I mentioned, in January of 2024, ECHO also expanded services and updated our MOU to include the emergency resource room that can be activated by our police department here in Paso Robles. I want to highlight that in 2024, the resource room was activated a total of 12 times, and we're incredibly grateful to partner with our emergency services to benefit our community to the best of our ability and use that as they see fit. Having that resource in our community for the police department to tap into when necessary and become a tool in their tool belt to help deal with multiple situations that arise throughout our city. I also want to highlight a lot of our shelter program. One of the things that is really interesting about this presentation specifically is that we get to look at what our totals were, not just for the past quarter, but for the past 6 months. Looking at our average shelter stays, you can see that that number stays around that 2,000. Our night by night kind of goes up and down, but really stays around that 150 number, being utilized that night by night shelter every single night. One of the interesting kind of numbers that we see constantly change is the individuals that did not receive a room, right? These are the individuals that come for ECHO's night by night, that 5-room program. And we track how many individuals do not receive a room. And you'll see that that number, as we kind of go through this and go through different months, will go up and down. And the truth of it is that even though it's a wonderful program, right, because there are only 5 beds, there is an opportunity and a chance that not every single person will get a room for that. The 90-day program, however, that's one of the real key components and one of the benefits of having more beds that are dedicated to that, because when someone gets that bed, they are into that program for 90 days with the opportunity to get and meet individually with a case manager and have a much higher success rate of getting back into stable housing. As we continue to kind of go through, actually, one number that I do want to kind of highlight as well is the unduplicated individuals served. This number directly comes from the night-by-night program that we operate. And so I do like to highlight the number of individuals that are utilizing that service and kind of coming across. And so this is a really unique number that we're able to present because this is different from that 262, right? That's how many times that person or someone was turned away, but there were only 53 individuals that utilized that service entirely. So some of that was the same person, unfortunately, being turned away multiple times, but I do want to highlight that number just to explain that to the council as well. Also, as you know, ECHO operates multiple programs out of our campus. We are incredibly thankful to the volunteers that help support ECHO's nightly meal program, providing meals to our residents, to residents of the Housing Authority, to our unhoused residents, and also to individuals that are food insecure in our community. We also provide a community shower program, also making referrals to mental health, drug and alcohol, and other resources throughout our community. And then one of my favorite services that we're able to offer is an on-site laundry drop-in program. So for those that may be living in their car or are unable to use that service, it creates an opportunity. And my favorite part is that we trap them for 2 hours while they're doing their laundry and their dryer. And it just creates an opportunity to have a conversation about case management, about our programs, and about all the resources that are in our community. And then this is one of my favorite slides. This really shows the impact and the success of our Paso Robles campus specifically. So as you can see, right, the number of people housed in just a quarter was 51, jumping up to 54 the next quarter, continuing that with a total of 105 individuals just housed out of our Paso Robles campus in that last 6-month quarter. One of the things that is really incredible too is the number of individuals that really worked towards finding stable employment, creating about half of those opportunities. So creating new, and this is just people who found new employment while staying at in our shelter programs, not necessarily those that already had employment when they came into the program. And then this is the number that really is just absolutely impactful. So in 2024 alone, ECHO helped 353 individuals and families secure stable housing between our 2 campuses, Atascadero and Paso Robles. One of the things that I want to highlight is that when we came to you last year and we presented and we talked about the years, the number before, that number was 201. There are 2 reasons that the number jumped from 201 to 353 this year. The first on your screen is on the right. One of the numbers that we tracked in 2024 specifically was the number of homeless prevention services that we were also offering to the community. So this is one of the ways that ECHO is really trying to help evolve and learning from those that we're serving and from the community and stop people from becoming homeless in the first place. So 97 households were helped through our ECHO Atascadero and Paso Robles campus last year from ever becoming homeless and on the streets. What happens and what has been incredible is we've actually really connected with the local landlords in our community to become this service to help provide for someone when something happens in their life, someone living paycheck to paycheck, their car breaks down, they lose their job. And we were able to create that stopgap, really focusing on sustainability and not just focusing on funding, but also being able to tap into the resources that someone needs. One of the key components of our homeless prevention program is a sustainability plan. So not just being able to provide rent for a month, but making sure that that person has the ability to keep paying rent beyond that, right? Has an employment lined up, income lined up, all of those things need to be in place, but also tapping into the available resources that are through our county, like food stamps and Medicaid and all the wonderful resources that we have here. One of the other reasons that that number jumped is really last year when we presented that 201 from 2023, that number in 2024 is 256. An additional 55 individuals and families that were helped just through ECHO's shelter and outreach program specifically. So continuing to see growth out of that 90-day program, truly impacting our community as well. ECHO continues to offer multiple additional programs and services as well. One of the incredible things about having a campus in North County and specifically in Paso Robles is the opportunity to partner with so many incredible resources throughout our community. It is not just the work of ECHO that is the reason that so many individuals and families are successful. It is also the partners, the volunteers, the community members, and all the incredible resources that we are able to hold on site. From mental health to even Woods Humane Society bringing by some puppies, right? It's an incredible opportunity just to connect with so many individuals and provide multiple services throughout our community. But as we know, right, homelessness isn't perfect, right? There is no perfect answer. And one of the things that we know is that it takes a community giving back. And so one of our things that we like to highlight is our neighborhood collaborations. Not only does ECHO adopt the entirety of Black Oak Drive and continue to pick up trash, we also hold neighborhood stakeholder meetings to invite our neighbors from our community to come. And I'd like, even though he's not here, to thank Mayor John Hammond for coming to the last meeting and listening and providing feedback. It gives us an opportunity to learn from our community, to hear about our services. And I also want to thank the members of the CAT team that come as well, because it truly is a collaboration between all of us working together. Even with all of the success that we have, we know that there are rough edges. We know that there are things that happen, but when we answer them as a community and we come together to have a conversation, we make improvements that are absolutely incredible. And on the last slide of this, if you are a community member and you are listening and you have questions about ECHO, about homelessness, or any of that, please know that you can always reach out to us. Visit our website, echoshelter.org. My contact information is on there, my phone number and my email, and I'm always available to answer those questions. There is one issue on this slide I just want to highlight. We did actually hold our last, our stakeholder meeting last month with a bunch of our community stakeholders, and we will be holding the next one 6 months, I believe, not in July because of the Mid-State Fair, but right after that or right before that, I believe in June. As I mentioned, we have multiple programs that come on site. This is really incredible to have so many different services that just become a hub for ours. One of the services that I love to highlight too is having on-site NA meetings to help really bring support and services directly to our clients, but also to tap into multiple of those services that are throughout our community too. Our programs really include a mix of education, workforce development, resource, and well-being. And that blend is really one of the things that we like to highlight that is the reason that so many of the individuals that graduate from ECHO's 90-day program also stay housed. That 353 number is incredible, but the number that ECHO is truly most proud of is that 90% of the individuals that we house have stayed housed today. An incredible number, so really not having to recur and utilize those services again, but stay housed and work in our community and live in our communities. And then as always, I like to end with just highlighting a success story. These are the names and the faces of individuals in our community. And so this is Barbara, just an incredible story of someone down on their luck that, dealing with hardships, but just hitting the ground running. This is an individual that really connected with ECHO's outreach case management services and actually started working with our case management team before ever getting into our 90-day program. One of the things that is incredible about Barbara, and not always this case, is that Barbara was actually housed in just a few weeks after staying at ECHO. Because she came to ECHO and was working with our team, engaging with our outreach case management, she was actually able to tap into services before she ever moved into ECHO's 90-day program. And by the time she moved in, she already had a housing placement waiting for her, which was absolutely incredible. So we were able to support her on that journey, and now she continues to give back with our community. And as always, the wall behind her represents all of the individuals and families that have moved out. Anytime that someone moves out, we put a handprint on the wall. And I know that there's been a lot of encouragement from the city of Paso Robles and our community members up here to get a crimson handprint, and maybe one day, but for 2025, we're going back to blue. I just want to be clear on that one. We'll stay away from a Atascadero orange for the year. And I'm here to answer any questions if anyone has any. Again, my email is asolheim@echoshelter.org. My information is available on our website, and I'm happy to answer any questions tonight or to the community in general.
Fred? You have a question?
Yeah, there are some questions, and I think my concerns are some of the statistics we get, some that we don't get, because I'm afraid that what our citizens see are the worst cases we have of homelessness, because those are the ones that are so visible on the streets. But if we had a percentage of just what percent of the homeless people actually are drug or alcohol addicted, if that's even possible to get, it would be nice for us to be able to know that and be able to tell the public that how many are not in that situation that are being helped.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm happy to provide. We have some of that information. I'm happy to share. Usually, what we see is about 20% of the individuals that deal with substance abuse, addiction, or mental health, and so it's about 1 in 5 of the individuals that we see and work with.
And the other thing is, they're human beings, so they're not going to last forever. But we never get any statistics on how many of the homeless people have died, and if the cause of death was related to their homelessness in any way. And I don't know if those statistics are available either. And I don't know how they're taken care of.
I think that's an HSOC has that information.
Yeah, I think that, thank you. So we are a member of the Homeless Services Oversight Committee, and I know that they are working on dealing with the hospitals specifically. I wouldn't be able to, I don't have an answer for you on that specific question today, but I do think it's a valid question.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Beal.
Thank you so much, Austin, for your presentation. Thanks, Wendy, for everything that you do. I was actually surprised by some of the numbers in these slides where the low numbers for mental health referrals or case management and substance abuse case management. For some reason, I expected them to be higher, and so that was revealing to me. Can you just talk me through what your referrals look like in those situations?
Yeah, so the referrals are specifically when a case manager is referring an individual. So that is when it becomes a part of their case plan for success. That's not when someone is doing that on their own or doing it for themselves, right? So that is specifically a documented interaction between a case manager and the person that they are working with. As I said too, one of the things that's incredible and one of the things that we provide to the city of Paso Robles is how many people attend our different programs as well. And so when someone opts into attending a program, so for example, we have the team of van actually come on site and provide mental health support. We also have NA support on site. We're not documenting that as a referral to any of those services because that's an individual choosing to opt that in, where it's different as like a case manager is specifically referring someone to drug and alcohol, right? To engage in services and to have that conversation about rehab and to do all that. I will also say that we are, in our community, we are truly lacking in some of those services as well. So a lot of the times that someone is interested in engaging, for example, in recovery, It's not something as easy as, hey, I can make a phone call and get you into a program. We're blessed to have a detox center that has been open, but really that's only meant to be a 24-hour hold for someone and not meant to be a long-term program. We only actually have in our county about 10 beds that are dedicated to men for someone that wants to get off of a substance. And so if we are making that referral and working through drug and alcohol, a lot of the times we end up looking for other opportunities. I know that for women, a lot of the times they actually end up going to Monterey. And for some of the men that we work with, it's a referral all the way down to Santa Barbara. And so working through some of those conversations and having those and looking at all the available programs, it's usually not as quick as, hey, I want to have that, and I'm ready to get sober. And we're just trying to maintain some of those conversations and keep that going and keep that energy there while we can work to get them into a program. But one of the key components that I do want to highlight is that's why we're so blessed to have the partners that we do come on site and offer those services. So if someone's maybe not ready to have that conversation with their case manager, they're welcome to have that conversation in private with the actual provider on site as well, which we're very grateful for those providers.
Very helpful. And then I forget the exact terminology, but can you talk me through kind of the emergency room or the crisis room and sort of what that looks like and what you need for that?
Yeah, so that is a direct relationship that came with the community action team and our police department here in Paso Robles. And so the resource room is a dedicated room that can be activated anytime before midnight by our Paso Robles Police Department. So it becomes a resource. I mean, we've had individuals that are experiencing homelessness that are in a spot where maybe they shouldn't be, where it becomes a tool for the police department to engage and activate that room and take them directly to the shelter. That way that they're somewhere safe and they can engage with our case management staff the next day. We've also had situations where someone's house has burned down and they haven't needed a place to stay. They couldn't afford a motel. They couldn't do that. We've had someone that got off in the wrong train stop at our Paso Robles train station and not know where to go and having to call 911 and miss the train and being able to activate that. So really it's become a multi-tool kit, if you will, for our Paso Robles Police Department to engage and then for us to be able to assist and help that individual depending on their needs. And so it can be activated for an individual and also for a family as well. And it's been activated for both in the past year.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Chris.
Thank you. Great presentation. Hi, Wendy. The unduplicated individuals look like, thank you for pointing that out. That's quite telling. Looks like it averages, I'm guessing, about 50, something like that per quarter. What's our next step to deal with those 50?
Good evening, Council. Wendy Lewis with ECHO. The reason I popped up, Austin's doing an incredible job, but there is something on the horizon, and that will help, Chris, with what you just mentioned. We know there's more need out there to serve those folks, and the county just released a RFP, a proposal for warming center funding and cooling center funding, and ECHO does plan to apply. We try to be as efficient as possible, and if we can find space on site, right, you might need a few more staff, but not an entire team of staff off-site. And so we are going to be applying, and we are going to make really good use of our conference room and wanting to do warming centers when it's needed, when it's very cold or rainy, and then cooling centers during the summer. And so we actually would love council's consideration of writing a letter of support for that application to the county. It's due pretty quickly. I think it's due in about 9 days. So that would also be able to serve some more of those individuals, especially on those very, very cold nights and rainy nights. Again, we are trying to do everything we can as efficiently as we can, using the city's funding, our community partners funding as effectively as possible.
Great. Thank you. Good luck with that. Do you want to add something?
I did want to add too that those unique individuals, a lot of the times that's an opportunity for us to engage with someone for the very first time.
Okay.
Right. A lot of the time someone will get referred to our night by night rooms because they've become homeless and they've checked in, they've called United Way or they've called 211 and they actually get referred to ECHO and so learn about our services. And so we really try to focus and emphasize getting them on the wait list for our 90-day program. It's unfortunate that we have to have a wait list for that program at all. But the truth of it is that we try our best to move as quickly as we can. And one of the examples that we gave was Barbara, right? That client, she was one of those individuals that came and used our night by night services, but checked in, connected with our outreach case management, got on the wait list for ECHO's 90-day program. And by the time she actually moved into the 90-day program, she was working towards housing. And now that's not true for everyone, but that is our goal. That is what we really try to emphasize, that is an interaction. There's a piece there. And so those unique individuals that are on there, every single one of them, we are trying to get on our wait list for the 90-day program. And beyond that, wait lists for housing programs throughout our community. Because really, case management and the opportunity to get housed starts when someone asks for help, not when they move into the 90-day program. So we're really trying to engage and envelop them in all the services that are given.
Nice segue to my next question. The 90-day cycle, that isn't, we're going to start on January 1st, and we're going to work through March 30th, 31st, and start a new group of people. That 90-day program is unique to the individual.
Yes, and it's, to be honest with you, it's a terrible name. So it really is. So one of the things that we do, the reason we do it 90 days is when we bring someone in, we really try to focus that first 90 days on creating that housing plan, creating a target for them. Now, for a lot of people, 90 days is perfect. But for different members of the community, right, depending on what their housing track is going to be, sometimes they're going to need a little bit longer. So currently, right now, we use a coordinated entry system in our county. And the average time that someone waits on that coordinated entry system is 6 months. And so what we do is we do 90 days and then we do 30-day extensions with that individual. Because if someone is working towards housing and accomplishing all of the goals and doing everything that they're supposed to, but they're just waiting on that place to open, they're waiting on this piece to hit. They've done everything, they're working, they're saving money, they're doing all these pieces. We're going to continue to work with them and engage with them. And so we have actually extended that up to, so we do 3 extensions up to 6 months to match that coordinated entry. Now, what we really try to do, coming back to those individuals, is to get them on that system before they ever stay in our 90-day program. If we're getting that and capturing that on day 1 in the 90-day program, we're already behind. We give ourselves that grace because we know that with construction and different things, someone can be placed. And then just recently, we had an apartment complex down in Slow that was about to move in and they didn't pass their inspection, which pushed them back 2 months. That doesn't fall on the individual, right? They've done everything. They've gotten a housing placement. They're ready to go. It gives us the opportunity to have that engagement, tell them that, hey, you've got another month to save up money now before you move in, and have that conversation. So it gives us that flexibility to have that conversation. But our goal is to make sure that everybody has a housing plan and is working towards that housing goal within our 90-day program.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you to everybody at ECHO for their service.
So I have one question for you or Wendy. So how many beds would the warming shelter provide that you're talking about?
It would be about 10 beds, depending on if it's individuals or a family. We would prioritize families with children, but so it could be between like 8 and 12 beds, depending on the family makeup or who's coming to us.
Okay. Same for the cooling center too, right?
Cooling center could potentially be a little bit more, depending on during the daytime, having rooms that aren't utilized during the day, opening those up as well.
Good. Thank you. Good. Well, this time we'll open it up to the public, so we'll have any questions coming at you.
I'm going to make sure my skirt's down. I actually have a flurry of questions.
Okay, and your name, please?
Yes, Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I just learned tonight that the joint meetings are biannual. My request would be it should be more frequent than that. My other question is Chris Bill is in District 1, why she's not assigned to the homeless area, that particular group that you and Mayor Hammond are assigned to. So it looks like as far as the room for the PD, it's being used 50% of the time. I've suggested in the past that when that room is not utilized by the PD, if it could be activated for someone who is out stuck in the rain or something like that. So I want to clarify, we're giving these groups money, Paso, Travel Paso, all of them, and some pay for the staff. Now, 2 cities are in $1 million budget deficit, and what they're doing right now is looking over all the nonprofits that they fund. Because if we get into this position where we fund too many, we too can go broke. So that brings into the question of having more oversight, which is why I suggested that maybe once every 6 months for his joint group is not enough. The complaints directly from the homeless. This city hates us. They don't care. They didn't open a warming center. There's a long waiting line. They give it to the elite in Paso Robles. Things like that I still hear. I'd like to see those things change. I'd like to know if we just found out Care Court is coming last week through the sheriff. So that's another opportunity to help our people. I think it doesn't work, but Kashong said he's going to make it work. So I don't know if these 17 warrants, 18 warrants, 20 warrants that are given to everybody is a precursor to getting them into Care Court. But I think it's important that we utilize that. Again, if the majority of our citizens are Paso Roblans, then how come the money that we give is not enough to help them? Let me see. So slow bangers. I would love to see slow bangers not do a needle exchange in our city. I think harm reduction throughout the state has proven to be harmful. Right now, they are arresting all the Honduras drug dealers in San Francisco, and they're going after LA. We have a lot of cartel here. So the other thing is the case managers, are those files HIPAA protected? And if they're HIPAA protected, are they stored appropriately? That was one of my questions. San Jose started an olive program. We only have 3 RVs, so we don't have that much problem, but that is trying to move all the RVs out of the city in San Jose, but we also have a new parking safe site that opened up in SLO. So job skills and shelter equals dignity and respect. I want to say 2 last things. For the fire department, they are having on 225 a barrel house battle for cash. I need a designated driver because I'm on a battle for some beer. I'm kidding. The other thing is I would like it to be clarified for the record as Sharon Roden was speaking, and as we say in Oakland, to the chair, to the city attorney through the chair, is it appropriate for an appointed planning commission person to come in and berate a sitting councilman? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do have 2 callers online.
Oh, good. Okay. Go ahead.
First is Jan Albin.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Jan.
good evening, Council. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Great, thank you. Question for Austin. Hello, Austin. It's Jan Albin. I'm a resident of Quail Run. There's been a couple of discussions of late about the makeup of the homeless population. And for the most part, people assign the drugs and alcohol to the homeless. They rarely talk about the mental issues. I'm not sure why that is, but they do. So my question would be, do you keep statistics on the people who we have, let's just say in Paso Robles or at ECHO, who are suffering from drug and alcohol abuse, and those who are suffering from mental issues? That would be my first question. Secondly, in your presentation, you said that you do an on-site mental health evaluation. What happens from that evaluation? Where does it go? What does it do? Is there any facility that these folks can go to locally to get mental health problems taken care of, whether it be medication or those? I don't know what we're doing with the people who suffer from the mental health issues. So I would like, if you can answer those questions, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jan.
And next is Michael Rivera.
Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Just a couple of comments and questions. We're nibbling around the edges of the homeless issue that the public sees. And what I'm talking about is the riverbed issue. We have statistics. All we have to do is count. Like, for example, the amount of tents that are going up. We know for a fact that we had 9 people pulled out of the riverbed when we had the heavy rains. I drove by that entire fiasco, and there were literally, I don't know how many police and fire people dispatched to that to take care of that. So we have a lot of statistics. As far as our fire department goes, They know how many contacts they have at the Echo Shelter. They know how many calls for service, medical calls for service. Those are all statistical. They also have police department statistics that will indicate what the contacts were by the CAT teams, how many there were. So I would say that a lot of this data is available, but we as a city need to take a lot more care in how we evaluate this. Because what the public is seeing is, and ECHO's doing a good job with what they have to work with. I get that. This city seems to want to push off this issue to ECHO or other people. It is the responsibility of this city to get the data, to get the numbers for us to understand exactly what's happening. Because what happened in the riverbed just this last rainstorm should have never happened. There should not be anybody living or staying in the riverbed, period, for a whole host of reasons. And we have allowed that to occur. We sit back and then we wring our hands. We expect ECHO to solve this problem. And we have a police and fire department that should be getting these statistics, and we should be taking action, aggressive action, to make sure this doesn't continue to happen. Otherwise, it's going to continue to happen. When the summer comes, we're going to have a whole boatload of people who are going to set up their tents all throughout the riverbed. They're going to live there, and they are going to contaminate the riverbed. They're going to do exactly what they've been doing for a number of years there now, and that has to stop. And unless we put our foot down to stop it, it's not going to stop. And so we do have the numbers, as Councilmember Strong indicated. He was asking for some numbers. We have them. We just need to count. We need to explore how much our police and fire are responding to calls for service for homeless, mental health, all these other things, and not expect ECHO to have all this data. It's not their job. All they're trying to do is give people a roof over their heads for a few nights and find them permanent housing.
Okay.
So
So, Mike,
we're taking our responsibility. Okay, I'm going to tie this up.
Summarize.
We as a city are pushing off our responsibility and the oath that you swore to protect and defend off to a small organization that doesn't have the resources to do what it is this city should be finding solutions to doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other calls?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to have Austin go ahead and answer Jan Albin's questions.
Not a problem. So I want to clarify that we as ECHO do not do a mental health assessment, but we do partner with Transitions Mental Health Association, who does bring the team of van on site and provide that service for individuals who opt into it. So it is not a mandatory, it is not something that every single person goes through, but they are able to do evaluations at that time, and then they make referrals. Unfortunately, again, the services that we have available within our city are very limited. So a lot of times those referrals are actually down in San Luis Obispo and sometimes even down further south. And so we're lucky enough to be able to provide bus passes and work through different transportation options that we set up to help provide that resource and engage with that. But one of the things that really ECHO has learned over time is that it is incredibly difficult to try to do that while someone is still on the streets. And so that is also one of the benefits of ECHO's 90-day program, is bringing them into that program and giving them that stability. And then one of the benefits of having our Paso Robles campus, specifically in comparison to our Atascadero, is it actually gives us the opportunity to serve sometimes individuals with kind of higher levels of mental health situations. And because it gives us the opportunity to potentially, if that person needs it, be in a room by themselves, because we have the flexibility to do that. And it helps us engage with that person where they may not be able to work and be able to be in our Atascadero campus, which is more of a communal shelter setting. And so we've seen a lot of success. I do want to give a shout out to Transitions Mental Health Association, because they have truly opened up more beds in our community for individuals that are on that higher level of chronic homeless and dealing with mental health. And so that has been incredible. And then we do an assessment when we, not an assessment, I would say, but we do an enrollment into our county's HMIS system, which is our Homeless Management Information System. And so when someone does tell us that they are dealing with mental health or substance abuse, that's when that information does go into that system. So we do track that. That's where I was able to pull that 20% number from. That is something that we monitor. The reason that we monitor that specifically is because we are not experts in everything. We have a very limited budget. We're very good at sheltering and providing that and getting back into stable housing. But for those gaps where we're looking at that data and what our clients are self-reporting, that's where we are so grateful to our partners that are able to come on site and provide those services, because that gives us kind of the roadmap to say we need these programs here at our site. And so we continue to offer and bring in more of those supportive programs that exist throughout our community.
So just to clarify on wrapping that up on the mental health, when you do an evaluation that's done by TEMA?
TEMA does their own evaluations. Okay. That's correct. Yeah, our staff is not trained. We do not have the ability to do a mental health evaluation.
And if they find that the person has a higher level of not issues, but an easier level of issues, they're able to get into the 90-day program with the visitation from TEMA.
We partner with TEMA, and that actually happens in their housing component.
Oh, in their housing.
Yeah, so that's the incredible part, is that we are actually able now in our community, when someone is dealing with that, if we're able to sit down and utilize that coordinated entry system, what happens is they'll get a score. Usually it's from 1 being the low, 16 to the high. And when someone's dealing with mental health and those different things, they actually score higher on that assessment. And so during that assessment, that coordinated entry, that housing assessment, it's called the VI-SPDAT, and please don't ask me what that stands for, because I won't be able to repeat it. But it helps us to gauge that, and then from there, the coordinated entry system, our county places them in housing throughout our county. So we're able to, right now, currently, we have beds available for individuals that score higher, and so we've made a huge impact on individuals that have a higher level of mental health and that chronic. But it still takes the opportunity to have a safe place like the Paso Robles campus for them to come, for them to have a conversation, for them to engage in our staff. Because in order to move into housing, you still have to have your essential documents. You still have to have these little pieces in place to roadmap. And that is the key to our 90-day component, is meeting with those folks, engaging, having those conversations, and getting them to that housing placement, even when they're on that chronic and mental health spectrum.
And drug and alcohol, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we're really blessed to be able to offer multiple services. And this is one of the things that's changed over ECHO's time. Again, right, we used to be a shelter that would not allow someone that was under the influence or using drugs or alcohol to stay within our shelter. But as we've learned, is that those services are hard to come by, right? There's not a multitude of them in our community. And so if we can get someone into our 90-day program and engage with them in the conversation about those resources, get them on the wait list for that, then we can have a better outcome of getting them, 1, sober, and 2, back into stable housing. And so that has been incredible resources.
Very good. Thank you. Very nice answer, Austin. Okay. And Mr. City Manager, would you like the fire department or police department to answer the second question on the people in the middle of the river?
Yeah, well, we could have the fire department probably come up and speak to that.
So just to clarify, so Randy Harris is coming up. I know that those people were talked to prior to the flooding. So Randy, I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, for this specific storm, we did start our evacuation messaging on Monday. That included postings along the riverbed at all the different access points. We further then flew using our drone with a loudspeaker, made announcements on Tuesday. Then we also incorporated messaging through Helicopter 870, which is the CHP airship. In addition to that, individual contacts were made with the police department CAT team to the individual encampments. And we also went to ECHO at their feedings, because a lot of the encampment individuals do go there. So many notifications were made, but that doesn't give us the legal authority to remove them from the riverbed. Commander Davis will be better to speak about the legal authority. I can say that I do agree with the caller. It is a huge resource draw for any riverbed incidents, even a basic medical aid, because it's difficult to locate. Obviously down there, it's I'm close to this or I'm close to that. It's not like we have, an address, and sometimes there's not a second person that can go out and meet us, roadside and lead us in. So it is a significant resource draw, but we were able to successfully, with council's approval and helping us get our boat program, we were able to successfully relocate those individuals with a much lower risk to our staff this time. So.
Yeah. Nice to not to have to use a helicopter. We have one more question here from Fred.
Yes, sir. Yes. Along that same line, I know that the Corps of Engineers, which is a federal agency, has the jurisdiction over that area. So that inhibits you tremendously, doesn't it? I mean, there was one caller who seemed to think we're not doing our job, but don't they have rules that we have to follow, or we have penalties?
We have several agencies that govern that area. The ones that we work with the most is the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and then also Regional Water. And those two agencies, Battalion Chief Jay Enns works with on a continuous basis, because not only do we have to come up with a plan, but then we have to report on the plan, and then there's quarterly evaluations that are done too, and then also fuels that are mitigated. Any significant trees are then replanted. So it's an ongoing process. It takes all city staff. Public Works does a huge assist on trying to get those trees and fuels managed with us.
And there are consequences if we don't do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Fire. Thank you, Randy. Okay, Angelica, anything else we want to consider a letter to support?
Yeah, if at council's direction, we can get a letter out to ECHO.
So, everybody for that? Okay, I think you have unanimous support. Yes. Write the letter, Angelica.
I will do that.
Or Chris. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy and Austin. Nice presentation.
So did we want to get a motion to receive and file the report and disperse the funds and do the letter?
Got it.
So for item K1, for El Camino Homeless Organization fiscal year 24-25 direct staff to follow the MOU. And I'm sorry, before that, let's receive and file tonight's report, and then direct staff to disperse payment pursuant to the MOU in the amount of $111,000.
Second.
Okay. First and a second. First by Bausch, second by Strong. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregory?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then we're requesting that staff supply a support letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Wendy and Austin. Okay. Paul Sloan, I think you're next. Receipt of our tourism impact study.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Gregory, members of council, Paul Sloan, Economic Development Manager. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this project this evening. And I would also like to thank the team at Travel Paso for their great presentation tonight, and to echo Mayor Pro Tem Gregory's comments on the amazing job Travel Paso does in promoting our destination and shepherding this important part of our economy on a daily basis. I would like to correct one comment that was made at the podium just a few moments ago. Travel Paso does not receive any funding from the city. That is, for some reason, a common misperception, but they are not funded by the city, and they are funded by a self-assessment that lodging institutions assess on themselves. This is not the TOT. This is separate from that. 100% of the transient occupancy tax goes to the city's general fund, and it represents a significant portion of that, which we're going to hear about in just a minute. But the assessment portion that the hotels and other lodging institutions assess on themselves funds the marketing efforts of Travel Paso. And not only does Travel Paso do an amazing job of marketing our destination to keep that mechanism of our economy going, because of the way it's managed so well, they're able to provide, as you saw in the presentation, grants to fund dozens of events that other organizations put on. And as you saw tonight also, they've now launched a student scholarship program for high school seniors in North County to go to community college, vocational school, or for university. All that is done without any money coming from the city. In fact, it's the other, they helped fund what we do here at the city. So that's something that comes up from time to time. I'm not sure why, but that's an important distinction to know about Travel Paso. That being said, with the importance of tourism, it's important to have data and metrics. To that fact, to that very important point, City Council adopted goals for fiscal year 24-25, called for us to conduct a tourism impact study. And for that reason, we commissioned a study with Beacon Economics, which is a leading economics expert firm, to conduct this study for the fiscal, economic, and social impacts of tourism, and with some very important data for us tonight. The study started in September and it's just recently concluded. And with that, I'd like to invite up to the podium to present the information from Beacon Economics, Mr. Stafford Nichols.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. As Paul just mentioned, my name's Stafford Nichols. I'm from Beacon Economics. I'm excited to share the results of our study with you today. Okay, so first I'll make a few high-level remarks about tourism in the city and sort of the directions and kind of main trends. Then I'll talk a bit about our methodology and how we went about the study exactly. And then finally, some of the results, the economic impact of tourism in the city and also the fiscal impact of tourism, and then open it to any questions. But before I dive into that, just very quickly, so Beacon Economics, we're an economic consulting firm based in Los Angeles, founded in 2006. We do a wide array of economic analysis, so economic forecasting, policy analysis, economic development, and economic impact. And then within the economic impact space, we do tourism impacts, which is what we did here with this study. We work with a large number of travel boards to do so. We also work with a wide number of wine regions. So this is very much in our wheelhouse, you would say. So to begin, tourism in Paso Robles has grown dramatically over the last few decades. I'm sure most folks here are quite aware of that. So TOT, the transient occupancy tax revenue, which is an 11% tax on lodging, was about $4 million in 2014, and that has increased to 150% to be $10 million in 2023. If you compare the amount of direct visitor spending in all wine regions across the state of California, what we did in this top graph here is we indexed them to the year 2019. So how much have they changed since the year 2019? And what you'll see is SLO County has outperformed all of the other wine regions. So there's roughly 2.5 million visitors to the region, not just the city, but the region generally, annually. Folks stay about 1.8 days. It's a nice weekend getaway. And that's important because, of course, the longer people stay here, the more money they spend. And so ultimately, that's one of the things we're interested in here. And this tourism drives a lot of the economic growth in the region. Tourism and wine. And of course, wine is very much interconnected and interwoven into the tourism industry here. There are 17 wineries in the AVA in 1983 when it was founded. There's now 300. Wine is shipped to 50 countries. And so you can see here in the top right graph showing the number of acres of grapes was about 5,000 and in 1985, and now it's over 45,000. So significant growth there. And then just to make the point about the tourism and wine sort of spillover effects, for every one wine job in the area, that supports 1.1 jobs in other sectors. So very much kind of related there. So in terms of measuring the economic impact of tourism and the fiscal impact for the city, we applied a model called a multi-regional input-output model. So input-output models are the standard econometric model used for economic impact studies. We use multi-regional, and so what that means here is that we take into account sort of these nested geographies. So you see we have this, started with the city of Paso Robles, when we differentiated between the economy of that compared to the county, compared to the state and the nation. Our main research objective was, again, just to measure tourism spending in the city of Paso Robles and its ripple effects throughout the economy. So one quick point about data sources here. We had a lot of good data sources. We relied on Bureau of Economic Analysis, city tax records, but a particularly useful one was the California Employment Development Department data, which is the EDD data, and that's payroll data, which gives us business level payroll data, so we know how many people are employed, what they're paid, what industry the business is in, and where it's located. So that's very useful for economic analysis. And it's actually confidential data, but we have access to it just because of our other work with the county. And so then quickly, how does the model work? In an input-output model, one of the main considerations is sort of this multiplier effect. I've kind of alluded to it, the ripple effect. And so what that means is for every $1 that's spent by a tourist here, how does that ripple through the economy? So we break that down into three main effects: the direct effect, the indirect, and the induced effects. So the direct effect is that immediate spending. In tourism, the spending categories we analyze are food and beverage, lodging, wine, retail, attractions, and transportation. So we add those up and then look at their downstream supply chain effects. So if I'm a tourist, which I currently am actually, I buy a cheeseburger. Well, the restaurant has to buy, of course, ingredients for that cheeseburger, and then the company that supplied that cheese has, you know, a partner who supplied them the dairy, and that dairy farmer has a partner who supplied them. So there's a whole supply chain. So we take that into effect. The other thing is, along those supply chains, you have people earning money. Everyone is getting paid a wage. And so once they get paid a wage from that business activity, they go and spend it themselves, and that's household spending. So that is the induced effects. So what we do is we look at the direct, indirect, and induced effects, their interactions with each other and their interactions between geographies. So what did we find? Kind of the top main finding is that tourists in 2023, and I should note some of the year dates are tricky because we tried to base the study on calendar year to make it a bit more easy to understand. However, that's different than the fiscal year of the city, so which is June. So 6-month difference there. But the 450 million of tourism spending in the city goes through that multiplier effect, and then ultimately equates to 467 million in total economic output. And so that's a considerable sum for the city. One thing to point out is you don't see a relatively large indirect and induced effect. And the reason for that, and again, so right now I'm looking at in this chart, this first column here, the city of Paso Robles column. The reason there's not a huge indirect or induced effect there is because we were fairly narrow. Well, we use the city boundaries, and so all those supply chains and things that I mentioned, a lot of that happens just outside the city and in the county, and so a lot of that economic activity, the secondary effects, are picked up in the county, which is the next column there. So the county balance means the rest of SLO County without the city. And then likewise, we also have the state of California. And so you can see if you were to add up the city of Paso plus the county plus the state, the total is 727 million in terms of economic impact. the top 10 most impacted industries, not surprisingly, start with hotels and motels and lodging. Restaurants and wineries are the top 3. Then you're followed by amusement, recreation, retail stores, gas stations, home ownership. So that is a lot of property management and real estate related activities. And this list could go on. I think it's useful to note that obviously the size of the impact gets smaller, but there's another 10 or 20 industries that are impacted here. They're just smaller. But so making the point that a tourist coming to spend money might help a sector that you wouldn't really think about because they're sort of indirectly connected. And this spending supports 1/5 of all the jobs in the city. So I can break that down a bit more here. In terms of employment, the direct spending of tourism supports 3,300 jobs in the city, and then 3,400 jobs if you include those secondary impacts. I won't go through the county or the state there, but you can see there's more jobs supported by the spending there. And then lastly, this earned income. So how much earned income are these jobs receiving? And that total number at the bottom left there is 156 million, which again, considering the city has roughly 30,000 people, that's fairly significant. So moving to fiscal impact. So how does all this economic activity affect the city and the city budget? All economic activity, of course, is taxed. So again, kind of the top line finding of this section is that $20.9 million is generated in tax revenue from visitors. And that supports roughly 37% of the city's general fund. There's more detail in the report for those interested, because obviously there's different funding mechanisms, but again, these are sort of the top line numbers. If you were to ask, how does that $20.9 million get generated? You can see the table at the bottom there. About 8.3 million comes from sales tax, 10 million comes from TOT tax, and then you have property tax and other taxes there for your total 20.9 million. If you were to zoom out and go all the way to say what are the total taxes collected not just by the city but also the county and the state and the federal government across a broader geography, you would find that the total amount of taxes is 117 million. And a lot of that goes to the federal government because as everyone knows from paying your income tax, you pay a lot of money to the federal government. So a bit more specific here. There are various tax measures, as I mentioned. So Measure E12, which was started in 2012 and then extended in November. That is a sales tax of 0.5%. Measure J20 is a sales tax of 1%. And then Measure F22 increased TOT by 1%. So that brought the total to 11%, I believe. And that tax is almost totally paid for by visitors. Measure E12 and J20 in 2023 accounted for approximately $5 million, with 35% of the $14.4 million spent on street maintenance, infrastructure, fire department funding, police, etc. And this enables us to estimate that about 5 of 20 police officers, 4 of 15 emergency service personnel, and 1 of the 2 public works employees are funded through this economic and fiscal activity. I did want to note that I know there's obviously tourism does bring more people, more crowds, and so in 2023, Visit SlowCal survey found that 59% of city residents said they were concerned about tourism's impact on crowds. 62% felt tourism increases prices. Those topics are a bit outside of the scope of our study, but I did sort of want to recognize that, but also point out that the fiscal benefit from tourism is significant, and so households in the city would need to pay an average of $1,779 to sort of compensate or make up for the amount of money that the city didn't get if there was not these tourism dollars coming in. So again, pretty significant number there. And that is the end of my presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions anyone has.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Councilwoman Beal? Okay. Chris? Mr. Pausch?
There we go. Thank you. I did have some questions on page 2021 of the attachment regarding we had 467 million in economic output in the city of Paso Robles, and it dropped to 126 million in the state. And now, through your presentation, I figured that out. So you stole my questions. I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Yeah, you could add those up.
Right. It's cumulative, right? And it goes beyond what I would like a ripple effect. So thanks.
So I do have a question on amusement and recreation. That number seemed to be growing quite nicely. It's pretty close. Can you show us that graph where you show the income from, let's see, it would be further down. Couple graphs. Keep going. One more. Let's see. Where did it go?
No, it was a line.
It's a line graph, yeah. It was comparing the sales of hotels, restaurants, and amusement and recreation. As a bar graph or a line graph.
No, there was a tiny bar. There was a long.
I didn't write down the page number. No, keep going. That's it. Oh, there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that number's almost as high as the wineries, which is pretty amazing. Amusement, yeah, and recreation. So that's got to be Sensorio and other activities that people are doing. But that seems to be a pretty healthy number.
Yes. I would note that, again, these numbers represent the city. So if we were to expand our geography, that might change. But that's correct, yes.
Got it. I was happy to see that. So, okay, thank you. Chris, Spiel.
Yeah, it's really amazing sort of looking where this community has come from and where it is now. And there's no doubt that wineries, agriculture, agritourism has a significant impact on our economy and does help us handle some of our infrastructure needs and things like that. So thank you for this analysis. And this might be for Stacy or the team also, but has this been done over time? I'd be sort of curious over, so no, this is kind of one snapshot.
Councilmember it's actually interesting. I think we look back, the last time the city did a study was 2017 in Stafford. So we have done one in the past, but it's been a while. And I think one of the interesting takeaways is percentage-wise, sales tax was about the same. And forgive me, I think the general fund proportionally was about the same. So we've stayed relatively steady. But I don't know that Beacon could speak to that study because I'm not sure that they were the ones that undertook it. So, but we have done one in the past.
That's great. This is the time when we look for Ryan and we realize that he's not here, right? And I'm actually curious about the methodology on the labor piece, on the jobs piece. Could you just talk me through that a little bit more than your slide did?
Sure. The model basically makes assumptions about how much a particular industry can support in terms of jobs. So looking at average wages in that industry and then looking about the amount of that industry and making an assumption about how many jobs. And so various spending patterns will support different numbers of jobs, but I can say we had the added benefit of having that confidential EDD data. So we really got the real thing. We got the raw data basically.
Yeah, you didn't have to model it.
Right. Yeah. So we were able to, it was actually a nice, from an econometric analysis standpoint, we ran our model and then it pretty much lined up with the raw data, so we were pretty confident.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your report. This time we'll open it to the public if anybody has questions about our report. Oh, we do have somebody come.
Chris, you mentioned where we came from. Remember the, you know anything about our Pioneer Day? What do you know? That's where we came from.
I'm sorry, sir, I need you to step closer to the mic.
Sorry, Red Cat's Ground Squirrel Hollow.
Okay, and if you'd speak to us, please.
Yes. Where we came from was when times were hard, we put on a bean feed for the people that were hurting. And we told them, don't bring any money. And it was a little miracle. And that's where we came from. And where we are with this economic development being a focus is not who we are. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. And anybody online?
No, sir.
Okay. So seeing no others, we'll bring that back to the board or to the council. And that was a very interesting report. Thank you very much for your work. We'll be seeing you in May, I guess, again, all right? So.
Sounds like it.
Right?
Yeah. So unless there's further discussion, just make motion K2 to receive and file the tourism impact study.
Well, I'll second it with this comment.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
That I'm not sure what the comment about this isn't where we came from, because prior to wine grapes, which came actually with Paderewski back in the 1800s originally, we also had almonds, which is where Blue Diamond Almonds actually started and had its first plant right here in Paso Robles. We produced 10% of all of the beef of the United States for many years, when the cattle industry was our biggest agricultural product. So we have had nothing but agriculture as the basis of this city from its founding. And this is just the latest iteration of agriculture. But it happens to be something that has many, many aspects to it, more than more narrow areas of agriculture in the past.
So I think if you combine the wine industry with their
my second still stands.
Okay. I think if you add all the other agricultural and the wine we do, it's quite a staggering number. So, okay, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Bausch.
Aye.
Councilmember Strong.
Aye.
Councilmember Reel.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregory.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much for your report. Okay. Okay, next item, approval of interim city manager employment agreement between City of Paso Robles and Chris Hewitt, our acting city manager. And Elizabeth, you'll be taking that item?
I'll take care of it for you. So the item this evening is to present you with an agreement to retain Mr. Hewitt's services as the interim city manager. As you all are aware, Mr. Lewis resigned or retired in the end of January. Mr. Hewitt has been serving as the acting city manager in his absence, and so we've just brought forward an agreement to make him the interim city manager. It is at the same pay as the former city manager's pay, same pay and benefits, and it remains in place until the council makes a decision on a permanent city manager.
Good. Any questions of the council?
Just an observation. I think you're a popular topic out there, Mr. Hewitt. And I think 95%, 98% probably is good. So thank you for being a constant in that regard. This tonight, and Elizabeth, if you could kind of walk us through for the benefit of the public, we want to retain Mr. Hewitt. But there's other steps that are going to happen along the way. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So currently, He is serving as the acting city manager. With this, he'll become the interim city manager. That will remain in place until the council makes a decision about a permanent city manager. At some point within the next few months, we will go into closed session where the council will provide direction on what sort of search they want to do, or if they want to just make an appointment, or a whole bevy of options. And depending on what you do, we'll implement that. And at some point after that, we'll have a permanent city manager.
So tonight is just an interim step at this point?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's a quick
Fred,
comment
go ahead,
too.
question.
Yes, my comment is this. I would really like to thank him if he's accepting this offer, because the previous city manager had an assistant, which is sitting at the end of the table right now, and he doesn't have one. So he's doing a lot of extra work, and I appreciate that.
I'll save my comments for after this. Okay, so this time we'll open it to the public for any comments. Anything on the phone?
I do have a caller online. It is Linda George.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hey, of course I'm going to call in. Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. I just wanted to tell you guys you have a typo on your agenda. On K3, you forgot to omit the word interim. I look forward to seeing Chris flourish, guide the city, I said this before, in an ethical manner. I am retiring all my hashtags for this city officially. But I really think that under your leadership, Chris, that all the staff will flourish. I want to see Warren doing television again, all that stuff. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a diamond in the rough situation. I want to lay to bed the past. Some people are not going to let that go. But I promise you to this date forward, Mr. Hewitt, I will not let the past stain anything you plan to do or want to do. My only concern is, I've said this before, to have a really robust employee recognition program so we have, when our city grows into 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, that we have 4 DDIS sitting there fixing our bridges. I see you doing that. And I wish you the best of luck on your new endeavor in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other calls?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll seeing none. So just a few items. So he is the interim manager for now, if the vote goes through. Just like to say a couple things of approval. I have a 97.8% approval. I don't know where you got your number from. And he happens to reside in District 3. So I just have to say thank you to Chris also for hanging in there and dealing with everything that's happening in the city and staying on track. He hasn't missed a beat. The public's being very well served, and he has a few of us chasing him around a little bit too much, but he's doing a wonderful job. And I'm counting on Clark to do a good job keeping his dad in order. So any other discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 25XXX, approving the interim city manager employment agreement between the City of Paso Robles and Chris Hewitt, effective January 27th, 2025, the date upon which Mr. Hewitt began performing the duties of city manager.
Second.
Okay, first by Councilwoman Beal and seconded by Strong. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Beal?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregory?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Welcome back. All right, this time, city manager report.
It's the first time I've ever gotten an applause at a council meeting. I'll just start off by thanking the council and staff and many members of the public for the continued support. We haven't missed a beat because we have, and I say this all the time, we have 280 staff members that have clear direction from the council on what the priorities are. Have a great set of department heads that keep them on track. And I look forward to just being able to step in on this interim basis and move things forward. So thank you for the trust you placed in me, and I look forward to working with you in these next few months or whatever it may be in an interim basis. Speaking of moving things forward, I do have a couple of updates for you tonight. One is there is a spaceport conference being held next week in Paso Robles, put on by Cal Poly in partnership, I will say, with the city. Mr. Sloan has been quite a bit involved in it. And it's going to delve into all things space related as it relates to kind of the suborbital discussion that we're having and potentially what we're looking to do with our spaceport. And so I know Mark Scandelis and Paul are both going to be involved actually in the event. I know many of you are planning to attend. I think it's actually sold out, which is great. We're bringing in a lot of the top folks from Cal Poly and from the private sector and from our staff to talk about what's happening in this world. But with that said, it's been a minute since we've talked about spaceport, and I know that the community and the council may have some questions on what's going on, and I don't want to undercut Mark's comments next week, but the reality of it is there's a lot of back and forth that's been going on with the FAA, a lot of technical studies, a lot of work that happens behind the scenes to get one of these licenses. So we're moving forward on that note, and we will be bringing items back to this council for further review, if not in the next several months later this year, to talk about what those next steps look like, because we're moving the ball forward, but there's still work to be done kind of in the environmental area, as well as in some flight corridor areas. We'll get into what all that means and kind of what those paths forward look like, but there's still some work to be done should the council still want to pursue the license and go down this path. So Mark will have that big update next week. Look forward to seeing a lot of folks there. The other thing that hasn't been updated in a while is our council policies and procedures document. And as I've been kind of reviewing some things in our office and in consultation with Ms. Hall and others, it seems like there may be an opportunity to review that document and look at what needs to be updated from a best practice standpoint, alignment with existing laws and current council needs. So what I was hoping to get underway here soon is an internal review on our end, just to take a look and bring the council, and no, there will be no changes to the document until the council reviews it and provides input. So what I was going to do is begin just a high level review of that for kind of those big picture updates that staff would like to recommend. And those things could be related to just updates and changes in how we prepare the agenda, how committee assignments are made, compliance with new laws related to social media that the council needs to be aware of. These are all kind of those best practice things that a lot of other cities are doing in their council procedures and policies document. This document was last updated in 2017, last time our tourism study was done, just to give you some perspective. So what I was hoping to do again in the next couple of months, bring you a red line version of some recommended changes staff would have, and then there would be a ton of space in there for the council to provide a lot of input and give us feedback on elements that maybe we didn't redline or that you would want included that we didn't necessarily include. So I just wanted to let you know that we'll be working on that. And I think for now, that wraps up my comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'll start with council business and committee reports. Councilwoman Villa, why don't you give us a start on that?
Thank you, sir. I just want to remind everybody that I will be having my second coffee with Chris this Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Market Walk. It's lovely. It's unstructured. It's just casual conversation, drop in, drop out, and meet some of your neighbors, and we can discuss about what matters to you in the city. I wanted to share that I updated my library card. I was a little embarrassed that it wasn't current, and so I would encourage all of my colleagues to check and make sure that your library cards are updated also. I attended the first class over by the Study Center, which is over 36th Street, and that's getting repurposed by Library Services, rethinking what that space can look like, and I can tell you, it was lovely. We made jam. It was delicious. There were 2 classes. They were completely full. The library staff was fabulous. The extension staff was fabulous. And I'm so excited about the possibilities of using that space and what it can look like. And I really appreciate the city's commitment, the staff's commitment to make sure that we're providing services and kind of enrichment opportunities in that part of town. I want to thank the fire department. They sent out a press release that was safety related ahead of the storm. And I sent out a quick email requesting it in Spanish, and by the time I woke up the next morning, it was translated in Spanish. So thank you to the staff and the fire department for making sure that that happened. I want to make sure that everyone knows about the Sunrise Villas ribbon cutting, 4 p.m. God, what's the date? It's the 18th. Thank you. March 18th, 4 p.m., 1600 Fontana Road, 69 affordable housing family units. It's really a big opportunity, kind of an exciting time, and it's certainly life-changing for these families that have a chance to live in these units. And let's see, what else? Oh, one last thing. It was fun to start with the libraries and the jams, so now I'm going to get a little more serious. I listened to the planning commission meeting. I guess I don't remember, all the days are going together now with the meetings. And it was actually the discussion of the Niblick project and this grant to improve the pedestrian safety and bicycle safety. So, you know, the whole planning's been going on for years, and everybody did a great job. There's been a lot of public input, and I was struck by how much of the conversation was about circulation, congestion. Warren did a great job of explaining the enhancements that are happening in several of the intersections that are part of the development agreements. But it really got me thinking that on the high level, we need to be talking about transit in this town. If we care about how cars are getting around, if there's concerns about that, if we have there are a lot of things happening, but I can understand why people are concerned if there's enough happening. And I chatted with, I know that Councilmember Strong had mentioned ridership and his report from RTA that our local ridership is up. So I just want to put that out there to get some sort of transit conversation on our agenda. So thank you, everyone. See you Saturday. And thank you for letting me be of service.
Mr. Strong.
Me?
You.
Okay. I'll apologize. I'm a little bit tired, and so I'm going to shorten my report. I've had many meetings locally as well as, unfortunately, Sacramento and Washington, D.C., and today was up at 4 a.m. for a meeting at 10 a.m. in Orange County. Got back just before this, and a half an hour before our meeting started, I got a press release from that agency on part of what I'm going to talk about right now, but I'll get the full press release out to our local media sometime in the next day or two. And that is that I was out at the Los Angeles, San Diego, San Luis Obispo rail corridor, Pacific Surfliner meeting. And I represent SOCOG, our local regional government, on that board of directors. And today I was elected vice president of that railroad, which is the second largest passenger railroad in the United States. So, thank you. So it was a difficult meeting because our president, chairman of the board, was sharing the meeting remotely, and about 2/3 of the way through the meeting, his electronics disappeared. And so I just suddenly was chairing the rest of the meeting. But this train set is very important. Daily, we provide 24 round trips between San Diego and Los Angeles. We provide 10 round trips between San Diego and Goleta. And we provide an additional 4 round trips, San Diego to San Luis Obispo. By 2027, 26-27, that will be up to 28 round trips, San Diego, Los Angeles, 12 San Diego to Goleta, and 6 a day from San Diego to San Luis Obispo. So we are expanding service in every direction, and we were going over a lot of those plans and our 2024 work plan initiatives, which we are working diligently on at the local, regional, state, and federal level. And it's going to be a very busy, busy year. And it's the same thing is true of my other responsibilities at the state and federal level, because almost all of them are transportation related. One thing we might note that is going to make it interesting at the national level is that this administration just made a radical change. The Federal Rail Administration has been in the Department of Transportation since its inception until this year, and it was transferred over to the Department of Commerce. So we're not sure what that's going to do to our rail throughout the United States, since it now is a very minor part of the Commerce Department compared to what it would have been in the Transportation Department. But we'll have to, that'll be something I'll report on as it comes available. But I'm going to wrap it up with that because unfortunately I need to get some sleep.
Okay. Your siesta can start. Mr. Bausch.
Thank you. Stay awake just another minute or two, Fred. Just a couple things very quickly. The Senior Citizens Advisory Committee on Monday the 10th, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee just after that, Main Street Board meeting after that. I think we've started to participate in our 221s for the SLO County Prop 1 Behavioral Health Continuum Infrastructure Program. I'm looking forward to seeing more details on that. That should be a very good asset benefit for the city of Paso Robles if they get their grant. I listened remotely to the Nibley Quarter project from the Planning Commission, learned a lot. I thought I knew quite a bit. It was a good meeting to listen to. The Library Board of Trustees meeting, I just want to shout out to Lori Buchholz for her years of service to both the Library Board of Trustees as well as the Cuesta College Library, and want to wish her well in all of her future endeavors. I'm getting some flack about not having coffee. It's not that I'm too cheap to buy coffee for everybody, but I'm pretty old school and low tech. Everybody seems to have too many of my phone numbers. Just call me, send me an email. Be happy to connect with you. If you want to go have coffee, I'm open to meeting wherever you like to meet. But old school works just as well. There was a comment, I think, by Mr. Katz earlier regarding holding responsibility or holding those responsible. I want to take another bite at this apple because it's come up again a couple times recently with some of the changing of the guard. I don't know what the policy is for how we review our city attorney. We have a policy for reviewing our city manager, but not the city attorney. And if we could bring that back as a future agenda item of what that policy is, if there is a policy, if not, when you're going through the updates in the months to come, it might be a good addition. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to start off my comments again, congratulating some city staff. I was honored and got invited to a luncheon with employees with 30 or more years in our city. Frida, thank you for that. And that was wonderful, visiting with everybody, Lavella and Ditas and everybody that was there. Thank you for those city employees. And it was wonderful to hear everybody's story and break a little bread with them. So it was a great honor, and thank you for doing that for employees. So I hope Linda George is listening. That was a nice event for our employees. Let's see, I attended Studios on the Park celebration and a fundraiser, again, for Stacy's effort for our city, several hundred people there, and we actually had it out at Sensorio. So those who wanted to tough out the evening got to do the evening tour, and it was a really nice event. And Stacy has a very long and wonderful career supporting our town, so she was honored there. I attended the Planning Commission meeting that night. Also, I attended it, and I tried to stay quiet so everybody get their words in, and I did. I kept to my promise. And then on Monday, a week ago Monday, I attended Panetta's office for some pretty exciting news, and it's about the VA medical clinic coming to Paso Robles. So they have they've had the funding, and there seems to be an issue, and the facility is going to be, if it all works out, and I think it's going to happen now, at Creston Road at the old health center there. And it'll be our first medical facility for the VA that we've ever had in North County. Very exciting. The funds are in place. Panetta's office was there, Heather Moreno's there, John Pichon and myself. And then we did a follow-up meeting on Thursday to go after the concern of the problem, and it was language from county council. That's a piece of cake. So anyway, but the funding's there, and I think you're going to see that come, and I'll be reporting that out as I hear more. But it's very exciting news, and everybody's thrilled to hear it. And so for all our veterans, it'll be really nice. And another thing that came up in one of the topics in that health group, for the first time in our history of our county, we may have 100% housing for all of our veterans, so we have no homeless veterans in our county. We're very close to that, which is a real good milestone. So we're taking care of all our vets, which is very exciting. Yeah, that was good news coming. I attended the Senior Advisory Council also with Mr. Bosch, Board of Supervisors, and that's about that. So anybody else have anything else? And otherwise, I'll talk about the meetings coming up. So our first meeting or events, Council Member Chris Beal's office hours, February 22nd, 2025, 9 a.m. at the center of town on Spring Street. Development Review Committee on February 24th, 3:30. Paso Robles City Council special meeting. Oh wait, I did forget one thing. I want to say something. We also got together as a council and appointed 2 new planning commissioners. It was, we reappointed Mark and appointed Sharon Roden, and also had a very close third person, Tiba. So very good group of people. So back to where I was going. So City Council Special Meeting Advisory Board interviews, and I'm not sure what that's for. Is that for the library on the 24th? Okay. Say that again?
Housing and library.
Okay, good. Housing Authority, got it. Then Planning Commission meeting on the 25th. Oh, Council Member Steve Gregory office hours on the 26th of February at that best little bakery in town at Just Bake from 9 to 11. So come on down and I'll eat some pastries with you and drink some coffee. And then we have our special supplemental tax sales oversight committee on the evening of the 26th. Again, a development review committee on March 3rd. And again, our next city council meeting will be on March 4th. Thank you all for attending tonight. And that's the end of our meeting. Would you like to move adjourn?
Second.
First and second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.